Hi, mathletes. We are going to be looking at data today at Math It Up, and we're going to be looking specifically at histograms. So what is a histogram? Well, a histogram is going to be a graph representation of data where we are going to be able to see the frequency of a particular grouping of data within a continuum of intervals. That sounds very fancy and it's really quite simple, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. So we're going to start with some data that's been collected. At what age did you first go on an international flight? And these are ages. So our first job is to set up our histogram here with some information, and we're going to title it first. Age of first international flight. Up the side here is usually our frequency count. And for our purposes today, 5 will work. And then across here is going to be our continuum of intervals. And these, in this case, will reflect ages. That is our data. It's about ages. So now we just have to start looking at our data and figuring out how to lay out these intervals and the like. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find our low and our high number, our minimum and our maximum, our lower extreme, our upper extreme, so that we can make good decisions about what to do in terms of breaking up this data into groups. So as I scan here, I see I have a 10, 42, I'm looking, here's 48. All right, so I know my data spans from, it ranges from a 10 and goes up to a 48. So that helps me to make a decision here about making my frequency table. So I think I'm going to start my intervals off with 10 so I can capture that first number. And I'm going to make them sized this way. Now, you could have broken it down into groups of 5. You could even have groups that just have 2 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But for our purposes today, it seems like these 10s are going to help with getting this data distributed here into these intervals. So having done that, I know I'm going to have 4 categories here. So I'm just going to give myself some tick marks here so I can get those bars going soon. This is much easier to do if you're working on graph paper, so all your lines are nice and straight. I'll do my best here, but graph paper really does help with that. All right, our next job is going to be to start collecting the data and see how many pieces of data, how many data points fit into each of these intervals, these categories that we have decided on. So 10 to 19. So I have a 12, that's 1. That one fits in. 2, 3. So it looks like I have 3 pieces of data in this category. Now I'm going to take a look at my 20s. Let's see, I have a 22, that's 1, 2, 3, looks like 4. 4 in the 20s. And I'm going to look at my 30s now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course we'll use the cross strike for 5. And finally, 40s, I see 1, 2 pieces of data in my 40s. There we go. Good idea right now, a little pro tip is that I would total up the pieces of data here. So we have 7, 11, 14, and double check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Looks like I've got all my data. It's a very simple mistake to make to not include all your data or include a number twice. So it's really important to strike out, highlight, count, cross-check, all very important. So now it's just about building our bars. So this first category is going to reflect 10 to 19, and there are 3 pieces of data in that first category. Now, we're going to share a bar because notice it goes from 19 and the next category starts right at 20. There's no gap, 19 to 20. And now we have 4 pieces of data there. And this isn't different categories like fish and dogs and cats. This is a number continuum. It's like a number line. So that's why our bars are going to share a side and there will be no gaps. So 29, the next category is going to start at 30 and go to 39. And we have 5 pieces of data in there. And then finally, we have 40 to 49 and just 2 pieces of data there. So that's what our histogram would look like to reflect this data. So we know that there are 3 pieces of data here, 4 here, 5 here, and 2 here. But if I did not have all of this information, I wouldn't know exactly what numbers were in here. I would know 3 pieces of data fit into this interval, but I wouldn't know what they were. But I can tell that the most popular age was 30 to 39, or people in their 30s. The least popular age for a first flight internationally would have been in the 40s. I do know that people in their teens and 20s together, because there's 7, were equal to people in their 30s and 40s, because there's 7 here too. So I can gather a bunch of information from the graph itself, but without the data, I just don't know what specific numbers are. All right, so here's our check and correct page. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to please stop the video and complete this problem the best you can. If you need to go back and reference the last problem, you may do that. And then we're going to start the video again when you're finished, and I will work along with you to check and correct this work. All right, we'll see you in a moment. Welcome back. Hopefully you have a beautiful histogram in front of you right now. Let's go ahead and get started here. We are going to begin like we did the first time with looking for our range of data. I'm seeing a 99. I don't see any 100, so that's probably my highest piece of data here. I see a 60, and it looks like 60 to 99 is what I'm working with. So again, I think I'm going to go ahead and make groups of 10, starting with 60 to grab that number. And it could have been groups of 5, intervals of 5. That would have worked also. But for our purposes right now, I'm going to use 10. As long as there's 2 numbers in an interval, that's all that's necessary. And then we have 90 to 99 finally. And now we're going to go through that process of grabbing the data and tallying up the data in the different categories. So let's start with our 60s. And here we go. We've got 1, 2, 3, looks like 4. If I miss something, I hopefully will catch it as I go through and count up. 70s, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3. And 80s, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, our tally mark should be nice and neat. That's an important thing in working with data. And then in my 90s, I have 1, 2, looks like 3 again. Okay, we're going to do a quick spot check here to make sure we have all our data. That's 7, that's 12, it looks like 15 pieces of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. Looks like I'm good on that, so I can go ahead and start building my frequency table. So let's title this Scores on Unit 7 Test. Again, I'm going to put my frequency numbers here. We only go up to 5, so I can go ahead and move by ones. If this went up to 8, I might go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, but the ones will work. That's our frequency. And then across here, these are going to be scores. We'll make sure we're labeling. So again, I ended up with 4 categories. 1, 2, 3, 4. Graph paper is your friend with these, as I said before. 60 to 69. Again, no breaks in the numbers. This is like a number line. And then it's just a matter of building our bars. So this first one is 4. It's much easier with a ruler and graph paper. Our second one is 3. Again, shared size. There's no space between these bars. They share a side. And then we go up to 5. And then back to 3 for our final category. 3 pieces of data there. So again, if I just had this histogram, I could tell several things. I don't know the specific numbers that fall into each of these categories without this data in front of me, but I do know that there are 4 pieces of data here, 3 here, 5 here, and 3 here. I know that 80 and above, 8 students got 80 and above, where only 7 got 79 down to 60. I could tell what percentage of my students here in this study received scores in the 90s because I could take 3 out of 15 of the students and I'd be able to tell what percentage by solving here, what percentage of those students received, of the total students received scores in the 90s. I could do that kind of calculation with any of this. So there's lots that we can look at and lots that we can do with data. So the final problem here is for you to work on your own. You've just watched a problem being done. You've just done a problem and checked and corrected it. Now is the time to practice one more time on your own and really give your brain that great exercise. So please go ahead and do this problem. Like I said, these types of problems, the span is very narrow here. So even doing something like this is okay. That works. There's a very narrow span. We can just make our intervals 2 each, and that would be fine. So as always, thanks so much for watching and advocating for yourself and working to strengthen your math skills. They are your superpower. And peace, love, happiness, and pie to all. Bye-bye. Have a good day.